Hello, it's Howard Rheingold.
I guess, like most of you who are in this room who've been excited about the possibilities of what we can do with these new collaborative technologies, for a long time, this man has been a seer, an influence, and a mentor. He probably doesn't know it, but he has been to many of the people in this room. So it was a special thrill when I met Jeff back in March when he told me that Howard would be leading the Geeks. And I knew then he would be closing this conference. So it's with great pleasure I introduce Howard Rheingold.
Thank you. But I really believe that we've got to get beyond skills. Because skills is very much an individual attribute. If you were the only person on earth who knew how to operate a gun or a fishing rod, you would be tremendously empowered. If you were the only person who knew how to read and write, you would be quite frustrated and possibly crazy. So I think we need to go beyond skills to literacies. And by that I mean, my definition is skills plus community. And we're talking about social media here. So I want to touch upon not all of the literacies that are facing us, but I think 5 of the most important ones. Attention, the fundamental particle of all the other literacies. Participation, we're all deeply involved in participation. Cooperation is something that I have written and talked about for a number of years. Critical consumption, or call it crap detection. In fact, if you search on that, you'll find my article on it. And what I'm calling network awareness. I think all of these need to work together. Ultimately, the fluency is not in a particular literacy, but being able to put these literacies together. I originally got into personal computers because they were great writing machines. I wouldn't have to retype the same page over and over again. But then I heard that you could plug your PC into a telephone with a modem and access these vast databases, and maybe I could save all of those trips to the library. This picture doesn't go all the way back, but you can tell by the size of the telephone that it was about 1995. What I found, of course, were other people. I didn't expect that, but it immediately sucked me in. I spent my days online. In fact, I started writing about life online because my wife became very concerned about how much fun I was having in my room with my new PC. And 1987, I thought it was important to write about. I wrote an article for the Whole Earth Review, provoked by Kevin Kelly. Some of you may know my book, Virtual Communities. That was published in 1993 because it took me 5 years to convince publishers that anybody but electrical engineers would want to use computers to communicate with. Jump ahead about 10 years. My daughter was 3 years old when I wrote that article. And she came of age at about the same time the web started coming of age. And they had these new tools called search engines. This was before Google, several years before Google. And I noticed that in addition to going to the library and getting books out, she was beginning to enter search terms into search engines. So, of course, I sat down with her in front of the PC and did some searches and explained to her that things had changed right then and there for her, that the authority of the text that goes back at least 1,000 years had been overturned, that you could go to the library and you could take a book out and you might disagree with the book, but probably somebody or several somebodies had been paid to check the factual claims in that book. But, of course, when you get something online, there's no guarantee that it's accurate or even not totally bogus. Suddenly, the authority is no longer vested in the writer and the publisher. The consumer of information, even my 12-year-old daughter, had to become a critic, had to become a questioner, had to inquire about the reality of the information that was presented to her. So naturally she asked, how do I do that? And I said, well, the first step isn't that hard. You've got to ask the primary question, who is the author? And what do other people say about that author? Put that author's name in the search engine. Keep your critical glasses on. Who are these people who are asking questions or who have opinions about that author? What are the author's sources? Who links to the author? I even showed her how to use who is. It's much easier to find out if there's not an author who is behind that website now using easy who is. So the way I put it to her is that you have to be a detective these days. Now I got kind of interested in that, and I became aware that there is a need for what I now recognize to be literacy of critical consumption. Again, Ernest Hemingway called this crap detection, that she needed to build in, she needed to exercise a crap detector, and that this is not going to go away. This is one of the essential literacies, and I'm going to get back to that. And if you wanted to see a more expansive piece about that I wrote a couple of weeks ago, you can look up Crap Detection 101. The essence, I think, what you need to teach your 8-year-old before he or she gets online are two questions. And I don't think that this is a one-lesson education. I think that this is a question or questions that we have to keep asking ourselves. Literally, you can pluck out of the air. Some of you are probably doing it right now. The answer to any question, if you know how to ask it. So step one is knowing how to ask that question, how to query the search engine. But the second step is that's the tricky one. How do you know what you find is accurate? So I don't have time today. I think, in fact, you could and ought to make an entire curriculum around that. The next clue that regarding literacies really came to me in the classroom, but it's something that confronts us every day. So how many people here have seen somebody driving while texting? Yeah, I've seen it on your motorways here. I've seen it on the freeway near where I live almost every day. And of course, we have the maybe less fatal, but sometimes annoying ringing telephones, the person who's looking at their BlackBerry while you're talking to them, the meetings in which everybody is on their BlackBerry or on their iPhone or on their laptop. These issues haven't been resolved socially, and I think they all have to do with what we don't know about how to deploy and exercise our attention. But it really came home to me when a few years ago I started teaching and saw what I think most teachers in the world, at least at the college level, see these days, which is students who are not making eye contact, but who are looking at their computers. And I realized that my students didn't see what it looked like to me to look at them. So I made a little video. I put the video up on YouTube. I took the video to class. I showed the video to the students. And I had another camera at the back of the class while I was showing that to the students. So it's only a minute, but I think it might be instructive. I did get their permission.